The night sky was clear above the Starlight Diner. Stars twinkled like tiny diamonds against the dark canvas of space. The diner sat alone on the edge of Highway 93, its neon sign cutting through the darkness. Inside, the smell of coffee and pancakes filled the air. Amelia Carter wiped down the counter with a damp cloth. Her blonde hair was tied back in a ponytail, and her blue uniform had a small coffee stain near the pocket. She had been working at the diner for 3 years now. The night shift was tough, but it helped pay for her college classes. "More coffee, Frank?" she asked the truck driver sitting at the counter. His plate was empty except for a few crumbs from the apple pie he had just finished. "Thanks, Amelia. You're a lifesaver," Frank said, sliding his mug toward her. "Long drive. Ahead to Phoenix." Amelia filled his cup with fresh coffee. "Be careful out there. The radio's been talking about strange weather patterns tonight." Indeed, the small radio behind the counter had been buzzing with unusual reports all evening. Meteorologists were puzzled by sudden atmospheric changes. Some callers claimed to see strange lights in the sky. The bell above the door jingled as 2 more customers walked in. Amelia recognized them as college students who often stopped by during late study sessions. They sat at a booth by the window, their eyes glued to a phone screen. "Did you see this?" one of them called out. "People are live streaming weird lights over Las Vegas." Frank turned on his stool. "Probably just military exercises from the base." Amelia glanced at the wall clock. It was 2:10 a.m., only a few more hours until her shift ended. She grabbed her notepad and walked over to take the students' orders. "Just coffee for now," said the girl, not looking up from her phone. "And maybe turn on the TV. Everyone's talking about the lights." Amelia reached for the remote and turned on the small television mounted in the corner. The local news had interrupted regular programming. A reporter stood on a Las Vegas rooftop, pointing at strange blue lights dancing across the sky. "As you can see, these unusual phenomena began approximately 40 minutes ago," the reporter said. "Officials have not yet commented on their nature or origin." The diner grew quiet as everyone watched. Even Gus, the cook, stepped out from the kitchen to see what was happening. At 2:17 a.m. the lights in the diner flickered, once, twice, then steady again. The jukebox in the corner, which had been playing soft country music, went silent mid-song. "Power surge," Gus wondered aloud. Amelia was about to respond when she noticed something outside. A soft blue glow bathed the parking lot, much brighter than the diner's own lights could produce. It pulsed gently, casting long shadows across the floor. Frank stood up first. "What in the world?" He moved toward the window, followed by the 2 students. 3 other customers sitting in various booths did the same. "I'm going outside to check," one of the students said, already heading for the door. "Wait," Amelia called. But they were already pushing through the door. Within seconds, everyone except Amelia and Gus had rushed outside to see the source of the light. Gus wiped his hands on his apron. "I'm going to take a look too," he said, moving toward the door. "Coming?" Amelia shook her head. "Someone should stay inside, watch the register." As Gus stepped outside, Amelia felt a strange sensation, like a change in air pressure. Her ears popped. The diner suddenly seemed too quiet without the hum of the jukebox or the chatter of customers. That's when she noticed him. A man sitting in the corner booth. The strangest thing was, Amelia was certain he hadn't been there a minute ago. She would have remembered serving him. He sat perfectly still, hunched over slightly. He wore a dark jacket with no visible logos or patterns. His face was hidden as he stared down at the table. "Excuse me, sir?" Amelia called out. "Did you just come in?" The man didn't respond. Amelia approached cautiously, coffee pot still in hand. "Sir, can I get you something?" As she got closer, she noticed something odd about his skin. It had a faint bluish tint, like someone who had been out in the cold too long. His hands, resting on the table, were long-fingered and thin. "Are you okay?" she asked, now standing beside the booth. The man finally looked up. His eyes were what struck her first. They were deep, dark blue, almost purple, and slightly larger than normal. His face was gaunt but not unattractive, with high cheekbones and a straight nose. He looked human, but something was just slightly off. "They are coming," he said in accented English. His voice had a strange quality, as if he was speaking through water. "I did not mean to bring them here." Amelia set the coffee pot down on the table. "Who's coming? Are you in some kind of trouble?" The man looked at her with those strange eyes. "My name is Vex. I am sorry for what is about to happen." Outside, someone screamed. Then another voice joined in. Amelia turned toward the window in time to see Frank running across the parking lot, terror clear on his face even from a distance. "What's going on out there?" she asked, moving toward the window. "The Krell," Vex said, standing now. He was tall, at least 6'5". "They have found me. They will kill everyone." Before Amelia could respond, the diner's windows exploded inward. Glass shards flew everywhere. Amelia ducked, covering her head with her arms. When she looked up, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Dark shapes moved outside. They weren't human. They looked like giant insects, their bodies reflecting the blue light. One of them crawled through the broken window, its many legs clicking against the glass on the floor. Vex grabbed Amelia's arm. "Behind the counter. Now." He pulled her with surprising strength. They crouched behind the counter as the creature moved into the diner. Amelia could hear more glass breaking, more of the creatures entering. "What are they?" she whispered, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. "Hunters," Vex said. "The first wave. They track technology and fear. They have been following me." The creature moved closer to the counter. Amelia could hear it breathing, a horrible rasping sound. She looked around desperately for a weapon, anything to defend herself. "Why are they here? What do they want?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Vex's expression darkened. "They want Earth. They consume planets. They have destroyed dozens of worlds already." The creature was just on the other side of the counter now. Any second it would look over and see them. "What do we do?" Amelia asked. "We run," Vex said. "And then we find a way to fight back. Because if we don't, by tomorrow, there won't be a single human left alive in this town." Amelia grabbed the coffee pot she had set down earlier. It was still hot, nearly full. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was something. Outside, emergency sirens began to wail in the distance. The night that had started so ordinary had become something from a nightmare, and somehow Amelia knew nothing would ever be the same again. The creature leaned over the counter. Its head was shaped like a beetle's with large compound eyes that reflected the diner's lights in hundreds of tiny mirrors. It had no visible mouth, just mandibles that clicked together as it searched. Amelia held her breath. Beside her, Vex was completely still. The alien's antennae twitched in the air, sensing something. It began to move around the counter. Without thinking, Amelia stood up and threw the hot coffee at the creature. The liquid splashed across its face and chest. To her surprise, the alien shrieked, a high, painful sound. Steam rose from its exoskeleton where the coffee had hit. It backed away, mandibles clicking furiously. "The kitchen," Vex whispered urgently. "Now." They ran, ducking low. Behind them, the injured alien called out in its strange language. More alien sounds answered from outside. The kitchen was small but had a heavy door. They slammed it shut just as something large hit the other side. Vex grabbed a metal shelf and pushed it against the door. "It worked," Amelia said, surprised. "The coffee heard it." Vex stared at her with those strange purple-blue eyes. "That should not be possible. Krell armor resists energy weapons. How could your hot water harm it?" It wasn't just hot water, it was coffee, acidic, with oils. Amelia looked around the kitchen frantically. "We need more weapons." The door shuddered as something rammed it again. The shelf moved an inch. "What else do you have that is like coffee?" Vex asked. Amelia opened cupboards quickly. Vinegar, lemon, juice, cleaning supplies. She grabbed a spray bottle of kitchen cleaner. This might work. Outside, they could hear the aliens moving through the diner, breaking things, searching. "I need to call for help," Amelia said. She pointed to the old wall phone. "Will that work?" "They disrupt most electronic communication," Vex said. But that device is old, simple technology. It might function. Amelia picked up the receiver. Miraculously, there was a dial tone. She quickly dialed the local police station. Henderson Police Department, a familiar voice answered. Diane, it's Amelia, from the diner. Amelia? We're getting crazy calls about lights and explosions near your location. What's happening? There are aliens, Diane, real aliens. They've attacked the diner. They're killing people. Even as she said it, Amelia knew how insane it sounded. Diane's voice changed. Amelia, are you okay? Is this some kind of joke? The door shuttered again. This time, metal claws pierced through the wood. Listen to me, Amelia shouted into the phone. They're called the Krell. They're like giant insects. They're attacking right now, but we found a weakness. Acids hurt them. Coffee, vinegar, anything acidic. A loud screech came from just outside the door. Diane must have heard it through the phone. What was that? She asked, her voice now serious. That's them. Please send help. Tell everyone about the acid weakness. It's our only chance. I'm sending all available units, Diane said. Stay safe, Amelia. I'll spread the word. Amelia hung up as a claw broke through the door, inches from her face. We need to move, Vex said. He pointed to a small window above the sink. Can we fit? Through that? Maybe. Amelia climbed onto the counter. The window was small but might be just big enough. She pushed it open. Behind them, the shelf blocking the door began to give way. They're coming through, Amelia said, trying to squeeze through the window. It was tight, but she managed to get her upper body out. The cool night air hit her face. Outside was chaos. Strange blue ships hovered in the sky. People ran screaming, as more beetle-like creatures chased them. In the distance, police sirens grew louder. Amelia pushed herself the rest of the way out and dropped to the ground. She turned back to help Vex. He was larger and struggled more with the small window. Hurry, she urged. Just as Vex got his shoulders through the window, the kitchen door burst open. 3 Krell rushed in. One jumped onto the counter, reaching for Vex's legs. Amelia grabbed the spray bottle she had taken from the kitchen and sprayed the creature directly in its face. Like the first one, it recoiled, making that same pained shriek. Vex finally pulled himself through. They ran toward the back of the diner where the dumpsters might provide some cover. Why are they here? Amelia asked, catching her breath behind a large dumpster. They consume planets, Vex explained. They strip all resources, kill all life. My people tried to warn Earth, but our scout ships were detected. I am the only survivor from my team. Your team? You're not human, are you? Vex shook his head. I was made to look human. My real form is different. I am from a world called Lyra, part of the Galactic Alliance. We have fought the Krell for decades. A police car pulled into the diner parking lot, lights flashing. Officer Diane Montgomery stepped out, gun drawn. Before she could react, a Krell dropped from the roof onto her car. She fired 3 shots, but they seemed to bounce off the creature's armor. We have to help her, Amelia said. She looked around desperately and spotted the diner's delivery van. Come on! They ran to the van. The keys were inside. Gus always left them there. Amelia started the engine and floored the gas pedal. The van lurched forward, heading straight for the Krell attacking Diane. The impact threw the creature off the police car. Diane stared in shock as Amelia rolled down the window. Diane, get in! The officer didn't hesitate. She jumped into the van's passenger seat. What in God's name are those things? Aliens, Amelia said. And they're just the beginning. There will be more. How do we fight them? Diane asked, reloading her gun even though it had proven useless. Acid, Vex said from the back seat. Your earth acids harm them. It burns through their armor. Diane looked at Vex suspiciously. Who's he? He's on our side, Amelia said. We need to warn everyone. Get people to fight back with whatever acids they have. Vinegar, lemon juice, cleaning products. Diane grabbed her radio. This is Officer Montgomery. We have a serious situation at the Starlight Diner. Hostile entities attacking civilians. She paused, then added, Advise all units. Conventional weapons ineffective. These entities appear vulnerable to acidic substances. Static came through the radio, then a confused voice. "Repeat that last part, Montgomery." "Acid," Diane shouted. "Tell everyone to use acid. It's our only chance." As they drove away from the diner, Amelia looked back. More Krell ships were arriving, their blue lights illuminating the desert night. This was just the beginning. Somehow, she knew, the fate of Henderson, maybe the fate of the whole world, now rested in their hands. The sun rose over Henderson, revealing the full extent of the invasion. The Krell ships hovered above the town like giant metal wasps. Smaller craft darted between buildings. The Starlight Diner, where it all began, was now surrounded by alien structures that looked like dark metallic hives. Amelia, Vex, and Diane had found shelter in the basement of the local high school. Other survivors had gathered there too, about 30 people, including some of the diner's customers who had escaped. "The entire town is under attack," said a man who had just returned from scouting. "They've set up some kind of perimeter. No one can get in or out." Diane spread a map of Henderson on a table. "They seem to be centered around the diner. Why there?" "Their ships can detect certain materials," Vex explained. "The area around your diner has mineral deposits they value." Amelia was busy in a corner of the basement, working with the school's chemistry teacher, Mr. Powell. They had gathered all the acidic substances they could find: vinegar from the cafeteria, lemon juice, cleaning supplies, even car batteries. "If we combine these with water and spray bottles," Mr. Powell said, "everyone can have a weapon." Amelia nodded. "But we need something stronger for the larger aliens." News helicopters circled above the town, just outside the Krell perimeter. The invasion was now national news. On a small TV in the basement, they watched as reporters described the scene. "The military has established a defensive line 1 mile from the affected area," a reporter said. "But so far, conventional weapons have had little effect on the alien crafts." Amelia turned to Vex, who was examining an old radio. "Can you contact your people? The Galactic Alliance?" Vex shook his head. "My communication device was damaged in the crash. I would need specific parts to repair it." "What kind of parts?" asked Mr. Powell. "Conductors, amplifiers, crystal resonators," Vex said. "Technology you might have, but differently designed." Mr. Powell thought for a moment. "The music room has equipment, amplifiers, mixing boards, speakers. Would any of that work?" A spark of hope lit Vex's eyes. "Perhaps. Show me." While Vex and Mr. Powell went to check the music room, Amelia continued mixing acid solutions. She had discovered that adding salt made the mixture more effective. Diane approached her. "I've got 10 officers outside the school. They're spreading the word about the acid weakness. People are fighting back." "Is it working?" Amelia asked. "Somewhat. The smaller aliens retreat when hit with acid, but there are just so many of them." Diane looked tired. She hadn't slept all night. "The military wants to bomb the area." Amelia looked up, alarmed. "That won't work. Vex said their ships have shields against explosives." "I know. I told them. But they're desperate." Diane sat down heavily. "We need a better plan." Just then, Vex and Mr. Powell returned, carrying pieces of sound equipment. Vex looked excited. "I can build a communicator with these parts," he said. "And I found something else. Your Earth music devices use frequencies that disrupt Krell communication. The radio in the diner, it was playing music when I arrived. That's why they couldn't detect me at first." This gave Amelia an idea. "The town's radio station. If we could broadcast on all frequencies, would that disrupt them?" Vex considered. "This. It might confuse their hive communication, but we would need to reach the station." The radio station was 3 blocks from the school, inside the Krell-controlled area. It would be dangerous, but it might be their best chance. "I'll go," Amelia said. "I know the back way through the alley." "Not alone," Diane insisted. "I'm coming. With you." Vex nodded. "I will join you after I finish this communicator. If I can contact the Alliance, they might send help." Amelia and Diane prepared to leave. They filled backpacks with spray bottles of their strongest acid solution. Mr. Powell had also created some acid bombs using glass bottles, like Molotov cocktails but filled with their acid mixture. "Be careful," he told them, "and good luck." They slipped out of the school's back entrance. The morning air was filled with strange smells, metallic and alien. They could hear the Krell ships humming overhead. Moving from building to building, they avoided the main streets. Twice they had to hide as Krell patrol units moved past. These weren't like the beetle creatures from the diner. They were sleeker, faster, with weapons attached to their limbs. "They're adapting," Diane whispered, "bringing in different types." They were halfway to the radio station when they heard screams. In a small grocery store, a family was cornered by two Krell soldiers. Without hesitation, Diane sprinted toward them, spraying acid at the nearest alien. It shrieked and turned, firing some kind of energy weapon that missed her by inches. Amelia circled behind the second Krell and threw an acid bomb. The glass shattered against its back, and the creature collapsed, its armor dissolving. "Run!" Amelia told the family. "Head for the high school. You'll be safe there." As the family escaped, more Krell sounds came from nearby streets. Their attack had drawn attention. "We need to move," Diane said. "They're coming." They ran, ducking through a narrow passage between buildings. The radio station's antenna was visible now, rising above the surrounding structures. Just as they reached the back door of the station, a Krell ship appeared overhead. A spotlight beam swept the ground, searching for them. "Inside. Quick!" Amelia pushed open the door. The radio station was empty, its staff having fled when the invasion began. But crucially, the equipment was still there, and still had power. "Can you work this?" Diane asked, looking at the complex radio board. Amelia nodded. "I did a college internship here last summer." She began turning dials, adjusting frequencies. Outside they could hear Krell soldiers approaching. "I'll hold them off," Diane said, positioning herself by the door with the last of their acid spray. Amelia turned on the main transmitter. The board lit up. She grabbed the microphone, took a deep breath, and began broadcasting. "This is Amelia Carter. If you can hear this, the aliens attacking our town have a weakness. They can be hurt by acid, vinegar, lemon juice, cleaning products. Spread the word. Fight back. And if you have any kind of music device, turn it on. Full volume. The frequencies disrupt their communication." She repeated the message, adding more details about what they had learned. Then she did something else. She turned on every piece of musical equipment in the station, at maximum volume, broadcasting across all frequencies. The effect was immediate. Outside, the Krell ship that had been hovering directly above them began to wobble. The soldiers approaching the building stopped, their movements becoming erratic. "It's working," Diane called from the door. "They're confused." Across Henderson, as people heard Amelia's broadcast, they began to fight back with renewed hope. And somewhere in the high school basement, Vex made the final adjustments to his makeshift communicator, sending a message to the stars. 3 days had passed since the Krell first appeared at the Starlight Diner. The situation in Henderson had evolved into a strange kind of war. The people had learned to fight back, using Amelia's broadcast instructions to create acid weapons. The military had established a strong presence around the town, providing supplies and support without directly engaging the aliens. The high school had become the center of human resistance. Hundreds of people now sheltered there, including military officers and scientists who had been airlifted in. The chemistry lab had been transformed into a weapons factory, producing stronger and more effective acid mixtures. Amelia barely recognized herself anymore. The waitress who had once worried about college exams and tip money now led strategy meetings with military generals. People looked to her for decisions and hope. "The Krell have adapted again," a soldier reported during the morning briefing. "They've developed a secondary layer of protection. Our basic acid sprays aren't as effective anymore." Amelia nodded, not surprised. "They evolve quickly. We need to keep changing our approach." Vex had successfully contacted the Galactic Alliance using his makeshift communicator. The news wasn't good. "The nearest Alliance fleet is 4 days away," he told Amelia privately after the meeting. "We must hold out until then." "Can we?" Amelia asked. She was exhausted. She hadn't slept more than a few hours since the invasion began. Vex placed a hand on her shoulder. His touch was slightly cooler than a human's. What your people have accomplished is unprecedented. No planet has ever resisted a first-wave Krell attack without advanced weapons. But we're losing ground, Amelia said. The Krell had expanded their control to nearly half the town now. Their conversation was interrupted when two soldiers rushed into the room, carrying a large container between them. We captured one, a soldier announced. A live Krell drone. The container was clear, made of thick plastic. Inside was a smaller version of the beetle-like creatures Amelia had first seen at the diner. It moved frantically, trying to escape. Scientists gathered around immediately, eager to study the alien. Up close, Amelia watched from a distance, remembering the terror of that first night. Be careful, she warned. Even the small ones are dangerous. As the scientists began their examination, Amelia noticed something odd. The drone seemed to react strangely whenever they moved it near the fluorescent lights. Wait, she said, stepping closer. Move it under the light again. They did, and the drone visibly recoiled, its movements becoming erratic. The light affects it, Amelia said. Specifically these lights. One of the scientists, Dr. Patel, examined the fluorescent tube. These contain neon gas. Could that be what's bothering it? Vex's eyes widened. Neon. Yes. On my world, we discovered that certain gases disrupt their neural pathways. We use it in our weapons, but it's rare on my planet. Do you have much of this neon? It's in every fluorescent light, Dr. Patel said excitedly. And neon, signs are everywhere in America. Amelia thought of the Starlight Diner's bright neon sign. That's why they targeted the diner first. The neon was hurting them, disrupting their sensors. This discovery energized the resistance. Teams were sent out to collect neon tubes from buildings across town. The science team worked to extract the gas and develop a delivery system. By nightfall, they had created neon bombs, glass containers of compressed neon gas that would shatter on impact, releasing the gas directly into the Krell's breathing apparatus. We should target their central hive structure, Diane suggested, pointing to aerial photographs of the Krell's main base. It's grown 3 times larger since yesterday. Military analysts agreed. They're building something under the ground. Seismic readings show deep excavation activity. They planned a coordinated attack for dawn. Military units would create a diversion on the west side of town while a small team led by Amelia and Vex would approach the hive from the east, carrying the neon weapons. As they prepared, Vex took Amelia aside. There is something you should know. The Krell chose Earth specifically. What do you mean? Amelia asked. Our scouts detected unusual mineral compositions in your soil, particularly in this region. The Krell need these minerals for their reproduction. But there's more. Vex paused. No planet has ever survived a Krell invasion without advanced technology. What your people have done, finding their weaknesses, fighting back with simple tools, it has never happened before. Amelia thought about this. Is that why you look almost human? Your people have been watching us? Vex nodded. The Alliance has observed Earth for centuries. We thought you were too primitive to join us. I was wrong. Before dawn, the attack team gathered, 20 people, soldiers, local police, and civilians with special skills. Diane checked their weapons one last time. Remember, aim for their breathing vents, she instructed. That's where the neon will do the most damage. They moved out under cover of darkness. The Krell ship seemed less active at night, perhaps conserving energy. The team made it halfway to the hive without being detected. Then everything changed. The ground beneath them trembled. A crack opened in the earth just yards ahead. Back! Diane shouted. Everyone back! They retreated as the crack widened. Something massive was emerging from below. A Krell creature larger than any they had seen. Its body was the size of a bus, with multiple legs and a head that featured not 2 but 6 compound eyes. Its armor gleamed in the pre-dawn light. The Queen, Vex whispered in horror. They've already produced a queen. The Queen Krell rose fully from the ground, towering above them. It made a sound. Not the screeching of the drones, but a deep, resonating hum that seemed to vibrate through Amelia's bones. Around them, the human soldiers suddenly dropped their weapons, clutching their heads in pain. Psychic attack, Vex groaned. Also affected. The Queen can disable, he couldn't finish. Like the others, he fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the mental assault. But strangely, Amelia felt nothing. The humming was uncomfortable, but it didn't cause her pain. She looked around in confusion as everyone else was incapacitated. The Queen seemed to notice this. It turned its massive head, all 6 eyes focusing on Amelia. The humming intensified. Still, Amelia remained standing. Somehow she was immune to the Queen's psychic power. With everyone else disabled, she was the only one left to fight. Clutching the bag of neon bombs, Amelia faced the Queen alone. In that moment, the simple waitress from the Starlight Diner understood that the fate of Henderson, perhaps the fate of Earth itself, rested solely in her hands. Amelia stood alone, facing the massive Krell Queen. Around her, soldiers and even Vex lay on the ground, overcome by the Queen's psychic attack. The Queen moved closer, its 6 compound eyes focused entirely on Amelia. "Why don't you affect me?" Amelia whispered to herself, clutching the bag of neon bombs. The Queen raised its front legs, towering over her. Amelia knew she had only seconds to act. She grabbed a neon bomb from her bag and threw it with all her strength. The glass container hit the Queen's chest and shattered, releasing a cloud of neon gas. The Queen recoiled, making a sound unlike anything Amelia had heard before, a deep, pained roar. But it wasn't enough to stop the massive creature. It lunged forward, one of its legs smashing into the ground inches from where Amelia stood. She dodged and threw another bomb, then another. Each hit caused the Queen to shriek and pull back momentarily, but the creature was too large, too powerful to be defeated by the small bombs alone. As Amelia reached for her last bomb, she noticed something. The Queen was avoiding patches of ground where the early morning sunlight broke through the clouds. It seemed to prefer the shadows. The sun, Amelia realized. You don't like the sun. This made sense. The Krell had first appeared at night. Even now, 3 days later, their activity lessened during daylight hours. The Queen, having just emerged from underground, was particularly sensitive. Looking around desperately for a way to use this advantage, Amelia spotted the remains of the Starlight Diner about 50 yards away. The building was damaged, but its large windows faced east toward the rising sun. If she could lure the Queen there, Amelia ran. Behind her, the Queen roared and followed. The ground shook with each step of the massive creature. Amelia's lungs burned, but she pushed herself harder than she ever had before. Reaching the diner, she burst through the broken front door. Inside, the once familiar space was now alien territory. The Krell had transformed it, covering the walls with strange, organic-looking technology, but the windows remained, large panels of glass now partially covered with Krell material. Amelia grabbed a chair and smashed it against the window coverings, tearing them down. Sunlight poured in, creating a bright patch on the diner floor. She continued around the room, breaking each covering, letting in more and more light. The Queen hesitated at the entrance, sensing the trap. But its rage at Amelia overrode its caution. It crashed through the front of the diner, its massive body barely fitting through the expanded opening. As sunlight touched the Queen, its armor began to steam. It shrieked in pain, but continued toward Amelia, driven by fury and determination. Amelia backed up against the far wall. She had one neon bomb left. She needed to make it count. Then she saw it. The diner's neon sign had fallen inside during the initial attack. It lay broken on the floor, but parts of it were intact. The tubes still contained neon gas. The Queen charged. Amelia threw her last bomb directly at the creature's face. As it exploded in a cloud of neon, temporarily blinding the Queen, Amelia dived for the broken sign. She grabbed the largest intact section, the word Starlight in bright red neon, tubing. The Queen recovered quickly, advancing through the intensifying morning sunlight despite the obvious pain it caused. Amelia held the neon sign like a spear. "You picked the wrong planet," she said. Then she charged forward and drove the broken end of the neon tube directly into the Queen's center eye. The tube shattered. Concentrated neon gas exploded into the Queen's face. Combined with the direct sunlight now streaming through all the windows, it was too much for the creature. The Queen convulsed, its legs thrashing wildly, destroying what remained of the diner around them. Amelia barely managed to dive behind the counter before a massive leg smashed through where she had been standing. For nearly a minute, the Queen continued its violent death throes. Then, with a final earth-shaking shudder, it collapsed. The psychic hum that had incapacitated the others stopped. Outside, Amelia heard confused voices as the soldiers and Vex began to recover. She sat on the floor of the destroyed diner, surrounded by broken glass and alien technology, trying to process what had just happened. Vex was the first to find her. He stared in disbelief at the dead Queen, then at Amelia. "How?" he asked simply. "Sunlight," Amelia said. "They can't stand direct sunlight, especially the Queen. That's why they attacked at night, why they built underground." Vex helped her too, her feet. "And the psychic attack, how did you resist it?" Amelia shook her head. "I don't know. Maybe something about my brain is different." By mid-morning, the effects of the Queen's death became clear. Without her controlling presence, the Krell soldiers became disorganized. Many simply stopped functioning. Others fought among themselves. By noon, the remaining Krell ships were retreating, leaving Earth's atmosphere. Military satellites tracked them as they fled into deep space. The high school became a celebration center. People who had fought together for 3 days now laughed and cried together in relief. Amelia, however, felt strangely disconnected from the joy around her. She stood quietly by a window, watching the sky. Diane found her there. "You did it," she said, putting an arm around Amelia's shoulders. "You saved us all." "It wasn't just me," Amelia said. "Everyone fought." "But you finished it," Diane insisted. "That's what people are saying. The waitress who killed the Queen." Before Amelia could respond, Vex approached urgently. "They're here," he said. They rushed outside to see a new type of ship descending from the clouds. Unlike the dark, insect-like Krell vessels, this one was sleek and silver, with blue lights pulsing along its hull. "The Galactic Alliance," Vex explained. "They've arrived." The ship landed in the high school football field. A door opened, and several figures emerged. They looked humanoid but with clear alien features, unusual skin colors, extra fingers, slightly different proportions. At their head was a tall being with silver skin and eyes like liquid gold. "The Admiral," Vex said with reverence. He stepped forward to greet them. After a brief exchange in an alien language, Vex turned to Amelia. "The Admiral wishes to meet the human who defeated the Krell Queen." Hesitantly, Amelia stepped forward. The silver-skinned Admiral studied her for a long moment, then spoke. Vex translated. "The Admiral says that in 3,000 years no primitive world has ever repelled a Krell invasion. What Earth has done is unprecedented. The Alliance offers immediate membership to your planet, with all the protections and benefits that entails. More, Alliance ships were arriving now, visible as lights in the sky. Teams of alien scientists and diplomats were already coordinating with human military leaders. The world would never be the same." A young girl approached Amelia, holding a phone. "Can I take your picture? Everyone's talking about you." Amelia nodded, suddenly aware of her appearance. Still in her waitress uniform, now torn and dirty. Her hair a mess, a makeshift weapon in her hand. Not exactly how she had imagined meeting representatives from across the galaxy, but as the picture was taken, Amelia realized it didn't matter. She was who she was, a waitress from a small-town diner who had faced the impossible and somehow won. The image would soon spread across Earth, and then to thousands of worlds beyond. The night a waitress became an icon.